All right, let's go. Okay, Sabah al khair min America. Buenos dias. Hope you can see me okay and hear me okay. Let me know in the comments if you can't. Maybe it's nighttime in your country, actually. It's morning here. So you can shoot me a message on how to say hi, good morning, good evening in your language. This is my second time going live on YouTube, and I'm going to be doing this every Friday around this time from now on. So I want to connect with you all in a more personal way and hear your stories as well and what might be holding you back from studying abroad in the US so that we can talk about it. We can talk about any of your questions or concerns. So the more I do this every Friday, the more I can get an idea of what your questions are and what you want to talk about. So make sure to check back in every Friday around this time if you want to be a part of the conversation. So I have worked with international students since 2013, teaching English as an advisor, working with sponsored students from the Middle East, and I speak Spanish and Arabic. I'm originally from Kansas City, Missouri, which I am very proud of. And yes, if you watched the Super Bowl last year, or this year actually, which is the largest American football game on TV in the United States. That is where the winning team, the Chiefs, are from, Kansas City, Missouri. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. And today we're going to talk about American culture. And I am going to just talk about two aspects of American culture today and the values that Americans have that will affect your experience in the United States and that you will have to probably deal with if you come here. So that's why I say it's part one, because there's so much to talk about when it comes to culture, and I don't want to overwhelm you with too much information right now. So we'll talk about this over the course of the next few weeks. So to start off with, I'll type this in the chat, but just a definition for what is culture. And I recently heard a really simple, perfect definition from Seth Godin that culture is people like us do things like this. So people like us do things like this. And I just thought that was so simple and a great way to say it. Group of people doing things a certain way is culture. And you have your own culture in your home country, and in the US we have a different culture that's probably, something that you haven't experienced before. Maybe you have if you've been here to travel or with your family, or you have studied once before. So let's start with something related to culture, which is culture shock. So I'll also type this in the chat, culture shock. This is a term, and let me see if I can see here. So culture shock is a term that is something that a person experiences when they go to another country for a longer period of time, not just visiting on vacation. And it's a feeling of discomfort when you are adjusting to life in a culture that is different than your own. So for international students, there are several phases of culture shock that are very common to experience. It's very normal. And it kind of looks like a wave, just a chart of emotions and things that you go through with culture shock when you live in another country for a longer period of time. And I've been through this myself in Spain, in Chile, in Italy as well. So I completely understand the feelings that come from living in another country. The first phase is pretty much the honeymoon phase. It's where um, you're feeling so excited. You just got to the country and everything is awesome. Like in Spain, I was so excited about the beach and the food was delicious, and I couldn't believe I was in Spain studying Spanish all day, every day, my dream. So this is the first phase where you're on a high. You feel awesome all the time. You're so excited to be in the new country. And then the second phase of culture shock that most people experience is sort of a dip. You start feeling more frustrated, uncomfortable. The differences in the between your home country's culture and the new country are obvious, and you're like, why do they do things that way? I don't like that. That's not how I do things. That's not how I behave in my country or my friends and family. And it makes you feel like frustrated. And like an example I can think of for myself was when I studied abroad in Spain, and I have blonde hair and I'm pretty tall. And and this was the case in Chile actually too. In general, people were just a little shorter and they had dark hair, dark eyes. And I just stood out so much with my hair and my blue eyes. And um, I felt a lot of people staring at me all the time. And in those cultures, it wasn't really rude to stare for an extended period of time in public at someone else. Whereas here in the US, people like to keep to themselves more, be a little bit more private, and it is considered just uncomfortable to stare at someone for a long time. So for me, that was something that was hard to adjust to, and just I felt uncomfortable in my surroundings sometimes. But I eventually got used to it and realized it was just a cultural difference, and that I look different than a lot of people in that country anyway. So um, after this feeling of frustration, sometimes people can get a little, hello, welcome. Type your name in the chat if that's Mohammed. Welcome to the webinar. I'm just talking about, hey, it is Mohammed. Welcome. I'm glad that you could join today. I'm just talking about culture and hello. And culture in the United States and how it might be different from your country. And I believe you are from Saudi Arabia, so there's a lot of cultural differences between the United States and Saudi Arabia. I'm sure you agree. So I'm talking about culture shock, which is a feeling that you have when you go to another country. You go through different feelings, sort of like a wave of feelings. So you might feel really excited at the beginning, and then you feel frustrated, kind of like homesick. You miss your family and friends. And then eventually you start feeling better. You feel happy. You make new friends. You accept the differences between your country and your new country that you're studying in. And really at this point, you start to like the new culture, maybe some parts of the culture you wish you had in your home country too, like some things from the United States that you wish were the same in Saudi Arabia or your country. So really at this point, my suggestion is go out and make friends, try new things, experience life in the US as much as possible while you're here. When I was in Spain, I joined a sports team. I taught English to locals. I had a conversation partner to practice Spanish with me. and I volunteered. So those are really good ways to get involved and to feel happy in your new country. And if you have any questions, just throw them in the chat and I will answer them for you. So I'll start with just the two cultural differences or American values that I'm going to talk about today. So most Americans would have a really hard time telling you, yeah, you do. It's exactly. So that's the cultural differences make you feel uncomfortable and like weird or different. And I experienced that too in other countries. But it's hard to identify your own values in your own culture, but then you can see it very clearly when you go to another country. So the reason I want to talk about these values today is to help you understand how deeply they can be a part of Americans, which then helps you understand why Americans act the way we do, which of course includes me. So sometimes Americans' actions can seem really confusing or surprising when you see it from your point of view. Like, why do they do that? That's so different. That's weird. That's not how I do things. But just try to understand that some of these values we will discuss in your culture may be seen as negative or a bad thing, is positive or very positive. So it's important to try to understand the cultural differences in these values and not see it from your own perspective or your own culture. So the first one that I'm going to talk about is control over the environment or results. So the environment around you, everything, everyone and everything around you. So Americans believe we have the power and the right to change the world around us for our own purposes, that fate is in our hands. So if we just leave it up to luck or chance, this can be seen as lazy or superstitious. So what is the opposite of this? And in Middle Eastern cultures, for example, they have the saying inshallah. So inshallah meaning God willing, or if God wants it to happen, then it will happen. This is pretty much the opposite of how Americans think. We think we are going to make it happen. Everything is up to me. I will do it as myself, as an individual. And so Americans find it hard to accept that sometimes there are things that humans just cannot do, or they believe that there is nothing that Americans cannot do. So, for example, we have gone to the moon because we refuse to accept any limitations on this earth. So, how does this relate to you as a future student in the United States? We see this in the classroom, in an American classroom, especially in reference to your grades. So for American students and teachers, grades are a direct result of how much effort you put into the class or into your work. So you have complete control over your grade in your class, in your English class, your academic class. If you work hard, you get a good grade. If you don't work hard, you don't get a good grade. The teacher does not give you a grade like a gift. It's the difference between earn and give here. So if you earn your grade, it means you put in work and you get a result, which is an A or a B or a C, whatever grade you get in that class. Giving is just receiving something without doing any work. So as an advisor, I saw a lot of students struggle with this concept that you as a student have complete control over your grades. So let me know if this makes sense. If you have questions about what I'm saying, just throw them in the chat. But at the end of the semester, a lot of my students would come to me and try to negotiate their grade. So for example, maybe they are getting a C, is kind of an average grade in the class. And then at the end of the semester, they wanted to come to me and argue and talk about their grade to try to change it. And that's not how grades work in the United States. So it depends on how much work you put into your class, your homework, your assignments, your presentations throughout the whole semester, and that's the grade that you will receive at the end. Does that make sense? I hope that is understandable. So that's just how that cultural value in the United States relates to you as an international student in the classroom. The last one that I'm going to talk about is time. So time and the control of time. So time is a really interesting topic from one culture to another. And Mohammed, if you want to share what it's like in Saudi Arabia, I know it's very different. I've been to the Middle East. The concept of time, being on time, is super different. It was hard for me to adjust the other way. And welcome, new participant. Thanks for joining. So we're talking about time and the differences in culture, how we think of time. So in the US, it's super different. In the US, time is like money. It's very similar to how we think about money. So you want to spend your time wisely, just like you spend your money wisely or smart. We even see this in the English language. So the words we use in English to talk about time are very similar to the words we use in English to talk about money. So we have sayings like spend time, like you spend money, save time, like you save money, waste time or kill time. All of these phrases in English refer to how you use your time. So to the foreign visitor, it may seem like an American is more worried or concerned with getting things done than with creating relationships with people. So they might be on a schedule like, okay, we're talking, we're having a conversation, but I gotta go. I have an appointment right now. Bye. So time is very important to the average American, and using your time wisely and sticking to schedules is really important because you can accomplish more than if you waste your time. So this cultural idea has allowed Americans to be really productive, get a lot of things done. And that's also a really good quality in the US is productivity. How much can you get done in one day? So a lot of other cultures tend to be more relaxed and flexible about time and punctuality, like arriving on time somewhere. And I experienced this in Chile, in South America, with a party because I was invited to a party in the evening on a Saturday night. And my friend said, oh yeah, the party is at 8 o'clock, 8 p.m. Okay, so I arrived to the party at 8 o'clock, almost right at 8 o'clock. And my friend was really kind of surprised to see me there. And she said, "Oh, like, thanks for coming." And it was just me and her because in Chile, when you have a party and you have a time, um, it's just flexible. Most of the time, people arrive like 20, 30, an hour, 30 minutes to an hour after the time that they tell you. Um, is this the case in Saudi Arabia, Mohammed? I'm pretty sure it's the same. That if you tell someone maybe a time to meet you, then you actually meet 30 minutes, 1 hour later than what you say. Um, yeah, so that's just one example of how it was the opposite for me. I was there at the time they said, and then that was not the case. So this generally though, this concept does not work in the United States, and it's just you often is it so in Saudi Arabia, what is it like with time? If you say, I have an appointment, or with your friend, let's go to a coffee shop at 6 o'clock tonight, then do you arrive at 6 o'clock, or do both people come like 6:30, 7 o'clock? That's what I'm talking about. So just the difference between like how we think about time. So you often hear, time is money, and Americans get really like nervous or stressed if they're not on time or they don't make a deadline, like for homework or an assignment to be turned in at a certain date, or even angry sometimes if they're running late for an appointment. And in an academic context or at a university, this can be really important for you as a student because your advisor, your teacher, other people will not wait for you. So if you're late for an appointment, it's seen as very rude because you are wasting their valuable time. Time is like money. So if your advisor says you have an appointment at 3 p.m. on Friday, it means you have an appointment with your advisor at 3 p.m., even maybe a little earlier on Friday. So if you don't arrive, then they move to the next person. And this is also the same with professors or teachers to arrive for class on time. And some teachers even lock their door, so you can't open the door if you arrive late. So my suggestion is to arrive to class at least 5 minutes early before class is supposed to start. 5 minutes early, so you can sit down and be prepared for class to start. And of course, this doesn't apply to all Americans. There are definitely Americans who are late, who do not keep an appointment or whatever. So I'm just talking in general. Time is very important to Americans. So just remember that with your classes, your appointments with your advisor or your teacher, to be on time. Okay, any questions about that? I hope some of this was helpful to you where you're at right now. And the goal is just to make you feel more prepared when you come to the United States to handle these differences between your country and the United States, and the feelings of culture shock of just like, why do they do that here? That is so different. It's frustrating. I don't like it. That you will feel probably, or you might feel homesick, like I want to go home, and at the beginning, but you will eventually come back and accept some of the differences, feel comfortable here, feel welcome, make friends. And then you probably, at the end of your time, won't want to go back to your own country, or you'll feel like sad that you have to leave the United States. So I want to hear your stories if you have any in the comments, either now or later. Just if you have already been to the United States, did you experience anything like this, or like funny stories with the time or something else where you there was a misunderstanding or something happened between with you and an American? So write your comments on the video later. And I had two other exciting announcements. So I have put together, based on your questions, a free online course, so free, on how to choose a school in the United States. So basically step one of how to get your journey to the United States started. So that will be posted this coming week for anyone who wants to take it for free. And I'll give you the link on Instagram and YouTube, on social media. And then the second thing is that I'm offering a discount or a lower price for Al Hilal fans or any of my international friends for my paid online course, which is the full guide A to Z on how to come to the United States to study, or one-on-one advising with me over video or phone. So if you are an Al Hilal fan, I put the link in the chat here to go to my site and purchase the course or one-on-one advising for a discount, to be the first people, just as a thank you for being a supporter for a long time and for interacting with me. So yeah, that's all for today, and I will see you next Friday for the next webinar, and we can continue talking about American culture and your culture in your country. So thanks, Mohammed, for joining, and for everyone else, and I will talk to you later.